well, good morning to you. I've got a few things that I can talk about, and I'll try my best to answer most of your questions, but I need to tell you on the front end, and I'll tell you on the front end and on the back end as well. This is still a very active, ongoing investigation. So before we get started, I want you to realize that and understand that, because there's going to be a lot of things that I will not make comment on, because it's still active and it's ongoing. So we can talk about that during your Q&A part, but just to kind of bring you up, and first and foremost, I want to, and I know I did this last time we were together, but I want to thank all the different agencies that helped us on the onset of October 12th, the incident at Willie's Bar and Grill. And I've got to commend everyone, but most especially I've got to commend the Northern Investigative Branch. We've got some of our investigators that are sitting in the back. They have done an outstanding job over the past 4 weeks on this investigation. This investigation has been a priority to most of our Northern investigators, even though there are other cases that are being investigated every day. But this has consumed most of their time, and they have done an outstanding job. A lot of hours, a lot of attention, a lot of focus to detail. So they've done great. Our lab, our forensic services lab, has stepped up. We have given them a lot of items of evidence. They have processed that evidence. There's still some evidence that is being processed, but they have done a champion's job of making sure that they're trying to stay ahead of it. You know, on October the 12th, the night and early morning hours, we had so much help from so many different agencies. Of course, BCSO, our patrol, our investigators and staff all responded to the incident location, but we also had a lot of assistance from the South Carolina Highway Patrol. The Beaufort City Police Department did a champion's job of helping us at the Beaufort Memorial Hospital, which is where most of the victims went, and they took that responsibility on, and they did a fantastic job. We had Port Royal Police Department that assisted us in the early stages of the incident. Hardyville PD was a help to us at Coastal Carolina Hospital, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. We, of course, we're still working with and have got a great response from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, so the FBI, ATF. We've had a lot of success in using SLED's forensic services as well, especially the firearms lab. The night of the incident, Ladies Island Fire Department was there with us. They provided a lot of necessary things like lighting and some of the other stuff that they provided. Beaufort County EMS, of course, they always do a fantastic job, and there's no different than what they did on the 12th. The coroner's office, unfortunately, was involved, but they were involved, and of course, they did a fantastic job. We have been working closely with the solicitor's office. We met with the solicitor's office again yesterday, and we have been working very closely with the U.S. Attorney's Office out of Charleston. So those are, and that's not everyone, but that's enough for you to get the impression that we appreciate their support in their work, and they're still doing a great job. We're still utilizing portions of the FBI's lab services, and we're still also utilizing SLED's services through firearms testing. Yesterday afternoon, investigators with the Sheriff's Office served 6 warrants on Anthony Freeman, and the pronunciation is Anthony Freeman. He's been in the Beaufort County Jail on other charges, and yesterday afternoon he was served with 4 counts of murder, The murder victims in this case, of course, is Amos, Glaze, Smalls, and Millage, and I think you all already have all the information related to them. He was served with 4 counts of murder, aggravated breach of peace, 1 count, and 1 count of possession of a firearm during the commission of a violent crime. Those charges were made yesterday afternoon. A bond hearing was earlier today. And I think all of those, the bonds, if I'm not mistaken, Daniel, were deferred to a circuit judge. Of course, there are other victims in this case. There are 15 additional victims. Again, this investigation is still ongoing. I expect more charges to be made, and we have not forgot about the other 15 victims of this incident on the 12th. We have chosen at this point to charge Anthony Freeman with the murder cases, and then we'll of course continue to look at the other charges that will be made in relation to the other 15 victims that were all injured from gunfire. There are some spinoff cases that are related to this that y'all may have seen when you check the jail's website, but in my meeting with the investigators this morning, I remembered our conversation. I think we have done like 12 search warrants for different things related to this, but one particular search warrant was done at 2405 Renhaven Court. And we did a search warrant there looking for evidence associated with the October 12th incident. And as a result of that search warrant, we recovered 2 guns were recovered, and one of them had a switch. And if y'all remember, we was talking about the switch on these guns, which take a semi-automatic pistol and makes it fully automatic. I was critiqued quite a bit after the last press conference by using the term machine gun a little too often, and I get it, I realize it. So it goes from semi-automatic to fully automatic, which is basically what a machine gun is. So, but we also were able to locate drugs and drug paraphernalia at this particular location. We were also able to charge one individual with an outstanding warrant, and that person was put in jail, and later there was a bond revocation for a prior machine gun case unrelated to October the 12th. At this particular address, there were 2 additional people that were arrested, and George Williams and I'm gonna say it, and I'm gonna say it wrong. It's Janasa. So my pronunciation of it would be a little rough, but last name Wing. They were both charged with cocaine possession with intent to distribute cocaine, and they were also both charged with a machine gun charge on each. So they have been in jail and they're out on bond now, but that is kind of a spinoff case of the investigation associated with Willie's Bar and Grill. Going back to Anthony for a moment, Anthony was charged last year with a failure to stop for blue light, and he was out on bond, and we had an investigation that was ongoing involving Anthony and shortly after this incident on October 12th, we were able to finalize the investigation from a prior year. Actually, it was September 2024. And we were able to bring charges against Anthony for aggravated breach of peace and the possession of a machine gun from September 2024. He was put in jail, if y'all remember, and I think my discussion about that was my frustration with a bond amount, and then of course that bond was allowed and he was out, and we got with the solicitor's office. Solicitor's office went and had a bond revocation hearing on the failure to stop for blue light, and then he was put back in the Beaufort County Jail, and he's been in Beaufort County Detention Center ever since, and therefore charged yesterday afternoon with the charge that I discussed earlier. So that is the information that I'm comfortable releasing now, but I want to say again that today's information that I'm giving to you is related to Anthony's charge of 4 counts of murder and the other 2 charges we discussed. Saying again, out loud, that the other 15 victims are not being forgotten. We're just at that stage in the investigation where we're comfortable making these charges, and we'll continue looking at the other charges. And I expect these other charges to be made. I just don't have a window of time to tell you when that is, and I expect other people to be held accountable for this as well. So, having said that, I'll answer whatever questions you may have. Yes, ma'am.
Do you believe that Freeman acted alone?
We know, and I won't go into too much detail, we know that we have 3 shooters at that incident, and we've recovered evidence that allows us to say that we have 3 people that discharged weapons at that scene. One of those people that discharged a weapon at that scene is deceased, and that would be victim Glaze. And the other ones that I'm willing to talk about that discharged a weapon there would be Anthony Freeman. But I'm not going to go into any more detail about the 3rd shooter. Questions?
That second shooter that you just said died in the crossfire, it sounds like. Can you
Pardon now?
The second shooter that died, did he die in the crossfire? Is he included in one of those 15 victims?
No, what I can tell you is that we know 2 shooters that I'm willing to release, and that would be Glaze and Freeman. How all of that happened is for a courtroom and not here. So, good question there. Yes, ma'am.
How do we connect Freeman to the murder specifically? How are we able to connect him to the murders?
It's connected not only, and let me go back, and one, evidence. Okay, evidence connects him. But also,
DNA or ballistics, what kind of evidence?
yeah, we're not going to talk about evidence. Again, this is, we're still very early into the investigation, but this used to be a courtroom, but it's not a courtroom today. So we're going to be very, very guarded about talking about evidence. But, there's a lot of connectivity, and not only through witness accounts and witness information, but also through evidence. So we're very, very comfortable with those charges on Anthony.
In these spin-off cases you mentioned.
Yeah, you have to speak up a little bit. This room is not.
Sorry. In these spin-off cases you mentioned, you said you had an address at Haven Court, I believe, and you said one individual was charged with an outstanding warrant bond for a prior machine gun case unrelated, and then you mentioned 2 additional individuals, George Williams and Janaza Wynn, I believe, with cocaine and intent to distribute that. So does that make 3 individuals in case or in spin-off cases?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. Yes, sir.
Sure. During the October 15 press conference, you mentioned or talked a fair amount about the difficulty in getting victims to talk. And then after that, there was a $10,000 reward posted. The FBI also posted a site to allow people to share
Videos.
Has that been productive? Did that kind of get the channel open a little more?
We have interviewed a lot of people. Some reluctant to be interviewed and really don't want to be involved. But we've also interviewed a lot of independent witnesses that are a big part of this investigation, and they're a large part of the reason we were able to charge us. So you take the eyewitness information along with the evidence that was collected and processed, it makes the case very, very strong. We're still in the interview process. There were a lot of people there that night, and we're trying to identify everyone that's there, and that's difficult. As you know, we have to go from one witness to another. This gives us information about other things, and so that's why this is still a very active investigation, because there's still more people to interview. We have gotten a lot of tips on through Crime Stoppers. We've gotten a lot of information. I know Master Sergeant Duncan has gotten a lot of calls, just like the other investigators have gotten a lot of information as well. So that keeps this case moving forward. Yes. So we've got more success with information from the community today than we did a week ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago.
Is it fair to say that you have a pretty good idea who that third shooter is?
You know,
Do you believe it is anyway?
we do have those of interest. So, but I mean, again, we're still processing our way through it.
Are you able to identify any kind of motivation Freeman might have had for this?
We know that there was some differences between victim Glaze and defendant Anthony, and these differences have accumulated over a year. And we do know there was a brief encounter between victim Glaze and defendant Anthony prior to the shooting at the location. You know, knowing that there's been bad blood between them for over a period of time, and it's kind of on and off, if you will. We do know that prior to the shooting on October 12th, there was a brief encounter between the two that was not very friendly, and then from there it went to drawing weapons and shooting. So that kind of was the onset of the gunfire.
Sheriff, before these murder charges and then the failure to blue light and then the machine gun charge from last year, have you guys had any run-ins with Freeman before?
I mean, we're very familiar with Anthony, and the investigators are very familiar. The investigators are very familiar with all of the folks that we're looking at that not only have been arrested, but also are persons of interest. So the criminal world is a small community, and we kind of know who they are. It's our responsibility to develop. If an investigation is ongoing, then we develop evidence and facts that surrounds the appropriate charge, and that currently is still moving forward.
You mentioned the criminal world. Obviously, I'm not saying this takes up the whole entire community, but would a large part of that Beaver County be gang-related? And is this disagreement between the two gang-related?
You know, there are more young men and some young women, but there are more young men in our community now today than in years past that want to have this. It's like an ambition to be a part of some group, and it refers, and most of the time it's referred to as gangs. And we know that there are gang handles that are being thrown around throughout the county, but of course on St. Helena as well. And there's that relationship that they have built, and the thing about it is, again, the criminal world is not that difficult to figure out, and we have pretty good knowledge on who all of these players are, and the investigators, as well as our violent crimes task force, and the work that we do behind the scenes, with some of our intelligence gathering and whatnot, we know who they are. It's just that it requires more than just knowledge. We have to really dig into the facts and have to be able to present those facts to a jury, and that takes time. And we have to have the right pieces of the puzzle in place to make that work. And here, and I know there was some sound bites that were last time. I think there was a question, Chloe, I don't know if, I think it came from you. Do I feel like the community is safe? And I think the media kind of took an opportunity there to say, and I can't remember what the quote was, but is Beaufort County a safe county? Absolutely. That's a soundbite for you. Beaufort County is a safe county, is a safe community. We're well below the national average in crime. But the community is not totally safe unless the community stands up and says, I don't want crime at my doorstep. I don't want crime in my community. And I tell people all the time, and everywhere I go, you'll have as much crime in your community as you allow. The more you allow, the more crime you'll have. But Beaufort County is a safe county. St. Helena is a safe community. But we've got this kind of this criminal world of young men that are creating safety issues. And it's our responsibility, along with the community, to get more involved, work with law enforcement. That way we can work with the courts, either be with the courts through the solicitor's office in state court or through the U.S. Attorney's office in federal court, and we can stop this. But it's going to require the community's involvement working with law enforcement.
So you kind of talk about the community is safe, but there is a third person involved. Do you believe that they're a threat?
You know, that's kind of another open question. I mean, I understand your question, but we know we have a third gun involved, so there's a third shooter. I'm not going to say the community is at risk because of this third shooter not being identified to you by law enforcement. You know, but in an environment, and look, in a setting like this where you have hundreds, and I think we first reported out that there could have been anywhere from 400, 500, 600, 700 people. The crowd wasn't that big. I mean, we're looking now based on the evidence that we have and some of the other information we have. It was probably, you know, if we had 350 people, I think that was probably closer to a reality in the number. There were a lot of people there. I mean, there was a celebration prior that day, and anytime you've got a location, you know, wee hours of the morning, if you will, and you've got the sale of beer, wine, and liquor, and alcohol consumption, and everything else that's going on, the wrong thing happens, and then you have a scenario like this. And we've seen this throughout the years. Not to this extent, because we had 4 people that died that night, and we had 15 others that were injured by gunfire. But I mean, it's not an environmental issue. It's the fact is that you need to be on your P's and Q's. You're in locations like that with a lot of people, and there's a lot of people been consuming alcohol and other things, and somebody gets irritated or aggravated and has a gun. You just don't know what will happen. And this, we know that the onset of the shooting was a disagreement with a minor assault between Freeman and Glaze. So we know that ignited the incident. Even though there was bad blood before, this particular night, that's what kick-started the gunfire.
Sheriff, I have a series of questions based on actions taken after the shooting.
And you are?
I'm sorry, Sheriff. Willie
Yeah. You don't own. I see the owner of the location, but you lease it.
That's correct, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that clarification. We received an announcement that the business had emergency revocation of its business license. In short, shutting the business down. So I wanted to get a feel of, and a lot of the rationale behind the shutdown had to do with 700 people in the parking lot, which you now said it was a little bit less. So I kind of want to know, first, Sheriff, on what legal authority was the business closed?
And we'll be glad. My general counsel is sitting right here. There's a hearing on Monday, and all of that information, and Willie will come out on Monday at the hearing. But this is not the time or place for me to talk about it.
Well, I mean, I thought it was a press conference in response to the shooting.
Yeah, but you're Willie Terrell asking questions about your restaurant.
Well,
And you're asking questions about a hearing that's going to take place on Monday. I appreciate the questions, and if you want to hang around, when we finish this press conference. We'll be glad to talk to you.
So are you not willing to answer any policy questions about in terms of your?
Let me put it this way, the location, let me help you a little bit. The location itself, when we pulled calls for service for that location, you had 400 in the past 10 years. 400 calls for service at that address in the past 10 years.
And what meaningful steps have the sheriff?
And then, of course, we pulled records since you've been in operation as well. And all of that information will be given to the hearing officer when we go up, I believe it's Monday.
Well, I mean, that's a great question as well.
Willie, I'm not going to argue this with you. Okay, I appreciate your question. If you want to hang around after, you're more than willing to do so, and we'll talk to you.
Completely separate question, but if you're not.
Look, the bottom line is we're going to put you out of business. If that's what you're looking for me to say, that's exactly what our efforts are. Not only put you out of business as far as a location that can serve beer, wine, and liquor, but the address itself is never going to have, as far as I'm concerned, is never going to have a beer, wine, and liquor license.
So it's not your belief that that contributed to the murders that happened in the parking lot? Are you saying
I think I've done a good job of answering your question. I appreciate it.
Okay, so is it the position of the Duke County Sheriff's Office to hold, like you said, you're going to close the business? Is that your policy to hold the business owner responsible for public roads, public crowds, and criminal acts conducted by people who never patronize the business, or is that something?
No, Willie, it's under the nuisance law. You know, when you get a beer, wine, and liquor license, you know, and you have 400 calls for service at a particular location over a period of time, everything from gunshots, drug distribution, domestic violence, fights, I mean, the list goes on and on and on. It becomes a nuisance location. And the locations is a nuisance location when it comes to the ability to serve beer, wine, and liquor, because beer, wine, and liquor, at the end of the day, is one of the elements that makes it a problematic area. So I mean, and look, this is not the first location in Beaufort County that's been served with these type orders. I mean, this has been done over the years when we identify nuisance locations. So when we do that, it's better for the community as a whole. I mean, and Jimmy, you can turn that into anything you want as long as you don't serve beer, wine, and liquor. So I mean, you know, you can have a flower shop, you can have a bookstore, you can have a restaurant. You just can't serve beer, wine, and liquor if this hearing goes through, like I think it will.
Thank you for the answer.
But you're more than welcome to still continue with a restaurant. You just can't serve booze.
Fair enough, I understand. So this nuisance location is based off 2014, and my question is for the Sheriff Department. What meaningful steps have the Sheriff Department, if any steps, have taken to provide safety to what you've known about as an issue since 2014? Now, of course, I took over the restaurant 3 years ago, so you may have known more about it being a nuisance than I would have known. I never got a letter or citation or any kind of documentation saying that it was. So prior to this incident, we wouldn't have known until you told me. Now, you
Willie, let me
Are you
stop you
in
for a
a
minute.
position that
I
if
think.
call the sheriff's office, that is a nu- I just want to know if that. if
No,
you
I
call
mean,
it a
let me
nuisance.
help you. Let me help you understand it, because we're going to move forward. Because you know, these folks have questions too. We're not going to spend all day here with you.
Absolutely.
But you yourself had common knowledge, that being a business that you run, that you have criminal issues that come about on your property. If you, knowing that, you hired 4 security guards to provide security at your club on this particular night, and the only reason you would have hired 4 people to provide security at your club on this particular night is because of the foresight that you have about problems that occur when you have that kind of a crowd, that large of a crowd, and in the incidents that have occurred in the past. So don't look at other people at saying that, well, what could the sheriff's office have done? What crystal ball information will we have had that this was going to happen on the 12th? If we'd have had the crystal ball information, this would never happen on the 12th. So, but you knew, and you had the foresight to hire 4 security officers to help you provide security before your restaurant, nightclub, and for the event that day. So, and we appreciate you doing that. Unfortunately, one of your security officers died that night.
That's correct, sir. Now, thank you for letting me know that we did our best to secure people. My question was, in 8 years, over 200 calls, 400 calls, what has the sheriff office done to save lives? I know my guys are there.
Yeah.
I didn't see one deputy, though.
Yeah.
It took about 12 minutes to respond. So
Well, when you have Willie, when you have a call for service, deputies respond. We answer those calls for service. So those 400 calls for service out at this particular location, deputies went to every one of them.
Okay, so you knew for 8 years that it was a violent place? And my question is again, what?
Do y'all have some more questions?
Sheriff, status of the 15 that were injured? Do you have a status update on the people that were injured, the 15 that were injured?
As far as their condition?
Yeah, condition.
And Todd, help me out. Are any of those still currently in the hospital?
All are released.
All have been released, recovering.
Can you clarify the number of victims? Because originally it
Yeah.
was 20 shot,
Yeah.
4 dead, now we're saying 15.
Initially what I put out was that we had 4 that were deceased and 16 injured. And that was a bulk number from the hospital. But apparently when we went back and really started going through, that time frame at the hospital and really seeing the folks that actually came into the hospital, one came in with a fever and didn't feel well. And unfortunately was kind of added to that list. So it's 15 that suffered from gunshots and 4 deceased.
And I do have a few more questions, but I know I've asked a lot, so I'll wait until.
That's fine, Chloe.
Are you able to specify the weapon that Freeman used?
No, we're not going to talk about that.
Or any of the other 2 weapons? You're not able
Pardon?
to talk about the other 2 weapons involved?
We know we have 3 weapons. Go ahead, Tony.
So, related to Chloe's question, can you say whether Freeman's weapon was tied directly to the 4 victims?
Forensics does show that, yes.
All 4?
That's correct. That's why he's charged with 4 counts of murder.
Sheriff,
That would be the relationship. Yes, ma'am. Come on up here. We'll make a star out of you. Come on. Now tell these folks who you are.
Sheila Jenkins Ward. And my question to you, in the last press conference, I addressed the low bond. And I want to know, have you and Governor McMaster's, Solicitor Duffy Stone, worked on or have an ongoing conversation about either revoking some of these criminals who have, or potential persons that have committed crimes and out on bond? What's the status on that? Is there an ongoing decision to try to maybe raise the bond so that we don't have repeat offenders out committing crimes?
There is an ongoing discussion
Thank you.
among a good many agencies, to include the Solicitor's Office and state agencies and us, about bond amounts. So, yes.
Thank you, thank you. And I want to commend you and your staff and all of the other agencies that have worked to try to come to some arrest in this situation. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Questions? Yes, sir.
Are you able to talk at all about the arrest of Freeman, how that happened, and the circumstances by which you guys arrested him?
Freeman left the incident location, was given a ride by a friend. That friend later dropped Freeman off. Freeman's girlfriend picked him up and gave him a ride to Coastal Carolina Hospital. Freeman suffered a through-and-through gunshot wound to the stomach. He was later transferred from Coastal Carolina to Savannah, and he was later released from a hospital in Savannah, and then returned to Beaufort County. That's as much as I can tell you. Without, I'm not going to go. That's kind of all I can give you without giving names and other things that I can't talk about.
Sheriff Freeman was arrested shortly thereafter on gun charges emanating from an incident in, I think it was in January,
September of 2024.
September of 2024. Did you make that arrest in mind that he was a suspect in this incident?
No, we just, that case came to a conclusion at basically the same time. So investigators are working that case. Here we roll into October 12th, and just of course it was just everything lined up to go ahead and make those charges then.
Was he the first person to shoot?
I'm not going to talk about that.
Can you say whether they were legal or stolen weapons?
I'm not going to identify the weapons.
Was he one of the 15 victims if he went to the hospital with a gunshot wound? Does he count as one of the 15 victims?
No, not that. The 15 victims that suffered gunshot wounds and were all at Beaufort Memorial.
Okay.
Yes.
Could you describe as when you said a through and through? I'm not sure what that means. I can assume it just means it just passed through it.
Yeah, through and through wound means it enters at one section of the stomach and exits at another location. So he was extremely lucky. He didn't have any organ damage.
And when things like this happen, like when incidents like this happen, are y'all in communication with all local hospitals, like to look out for a person who's been injured? Is that how that happened? Okay.
Our communication with ERs, hospitals throughout not only Beaufort County but Coastal, because Coastal gets a lot of patients from Beaufort County. I mean, there's a lot of people that go to Coastal because it's location. So yeah, anything that shows up at an emergency room that they consider being a knife wound, blunt force trauma, or a gunshot, they're on the phone with us quick.
So you knew that he had been shot
Mm-hmm.
that day?
Yeah.
Sheriff, talking about, sorry, I'm Tom Powder, last press conference, you said that y'all had a big machine gun problem, and I appreciate you clarifying today, the difference between semi-automatic and automatic, and with that switch. Do you mind talking about, what that automatic, automatic gun problems that y'all do have here, and if this is relating, those weapons involved?
Well, it's not, and I appreciate you asking that question, because I've got to be careful when I talk about machine guns. I'll get corrected quite a bit on social media, but in this particular scenario, and we're talking about handguns here, and we're not going to talk about AR-15s and those type things, and we're just talking about handguns. It's the switch that makes them fully automatic. And we have made, when I did the last press conference, I think we were at 24 independent charges in the county. And I know some of you got the numbers a little wrong, and it may have been my fault, but we had 24 individual arrests for possession of a gun with a switch, which makes it fully automatic. 6 of those, if I remember correctly, and Daniel, correct me if I'm wrong, but 6 of those charges, those individual charges for individuals, 6 only remained in jail. The rest of them, 18 of them, were released on bond. Since my last press conference, and if you look at the charges that were made in the spinoff investigation and the charges that were a part of Anthony's original charge, then we're at 24, 25, 26, 27. I think we're at 28 charges involving a switch that makes it fully automatic. That kind of shouts to me that there's a switch problem, and that there's so much attraction to taking a pistol and simply converting it with a switch from semi-automatic to fully automatic, in this age bracket, with this gang activity, you can see the attraction. And that just makes matters worse. The switches are a problem. And, you know, but we've made a lot of charges. We've arrested a lot of people. We need results. So all of those arrests that we've made, and I know we've got great working relationships with the U.S. Attorney's Office, because we're talking about converting a weapon from semi-automatic to fully automatic, which makes it a machine gun, which makes it I think it's a 10-year felony in the federal system. So we're moving towards success, and hopefully some of these people that have been charged go into prison for having a switch on a gun.
And you talk a lot about not only knowing but doing action. So what's the call to action to this switch problem here in Beacon County?
It's for law enforcement to keep identifying those that are participating and converting weapons from semi-automatic to fully automatic, and then we need to get them in the court system, let the court system appropriately deal with them. Again, it goes back to bond amounts. I mean, if you've got someone that's been arrested and they go to jail, if you want to send a message, I can't tell magistrates what bond to set. You know, that's their independent job. I mean, they work heavily under court administration and the Supreme Court. There's a lot of, you know, information, a lot of considerations they make. But if someone goes to jail for putting a switch, converting a gun from semi-automatic to fully automatic, which there's no reason to do that. I mean, you're not going hunting, and you need a fully automatic pistol. Let's consider bond amounts. When we look at someone in possession of a fully automatic pistol with a switch that you shouldn't have, and it's a conversion, then let's consider a bond appropriate for the possession of that gun. And I think we could send more of a message to the community that has the attraction to these type weapons, that you better get rid of them. Because if you get caught with them, you're going to be in jail for a while.
Sheriff, how did Freeman acquire this weapon? How did Freeman acquire this weapon?
That's a very good question.
Do you
I
know,
appreciate
or
it.
you find
Yeah, there's a lot that we know. I'm not going to go into those details. I appreciate it, though.
And you talked about the bond hearing that happened this morning.
Yeah.
Freeman's bond hearing. Do you
Well, I
this-
know I haven't talked about that.
Or,
I don't know. I know it was deferred to circuit court, right? Yeah.
okay, are we able to know specifications about the bond?
Come on up, Daniel.
Yeah, I think question for you.
And
Sorry, maybe
hey,
it's
Todd,
not.
was Daniel there with you, or were you there by yourself?
Todd was there.
Well, do you know about it?
Any charge that carries life in prison, which murder does, gets automatically deferred to the circuit court. So any murder cases that carry obviously 30 to life will be automatically deferred to circuit court judge.
Can you explain what that means?
So magistrates have authority to set bonds in particular situations. That jurisdiction to set that bond for a charge that carries life in prison is automatically sent to a circuit court judge at a later date.
Okay, do you know that maybe?
I don't.
Okay,
I don't.
okay, thank you.
All right.
Sorry.
No worries.
Trying to make a statement.
Don't
You're
go
good.
too far. There might be another legal question, Dan. Questions?
You mentioned the age bracket. What is that age bracket? Of those with the-
Todd, what is that? 17 to 30?
Late teens, mid-20s?
Yeah. Late teens, mid-20s.
Do you know the age range of those who were injured? Do we know the age range of those who were injured? Were they mostly young people? Do we know that?
No, I mean, it was a pretty wide range. Yeah, there was actually some parents and children there. I mean, so there was grown children with their parents. So it was, I don't think they were as old as me,
Were there any children below the age of 18?
not that I recall,
Okay,
that were injured, no. No, I think early 20s on up.
okay, thank you.
Sheriff, when there's a large gathering in a place like Willie's, or where there was that night, what's the role of the sheriff's office providing patrols? How do you provide patrols? And are there instances where the sheriff's office will, provide a presence at
You know, it's a thing called prepaid overtime, but we don't work bars. You know, we don't do that. We work events where they may sell beer or wine. I know there's events throughout the county. If the event organizers want to, you know, have a deputy, we do what we call prepaid overtime, and we assign, you know, X number of deputies for a minimum of 4 hours, and they have to pay the cost, the entire cost, for that officer working. But we're not inclined to work bars, lounges, and those type things. That's why they normally hire their own private security. And this is exactly what Willie did this night. So I don't recall, Alan, you may be able to tell me, I don't recall that there was any phone calls or any requests made of the sheriff's office prior to this event on October 12th.
No, sir.
So, I mean, there are parties all over the county, probably every weekend, but that doesn't mean we know about them or quite frankly, should be concerned about them.
The sheriff's office, Willie mentioned the action that the sheriff's office is taking against his business. Are you considering Willie for any criminal liability in this incident?
Not going to talk about that at this point. All right. Questions? We're winding down. Questions? Anything else?
Do you have a message to the community, even with just kind of this third, shooter? Are you still looking for people to talk to you?
Oh, yeah, and that was going to be my comment before I left. But as always, and we'll continue to say this. We need the community's involvement. We need their help. We always need their help. We always need their involvement. I mean, we are 350 strong at the sheriff's office when it comes to staff, and that includes our communications section and our civil division, our administration, and all that. So we're outnumbered, but we're not outnumbered in public safety when we have your eyes, your ears, and your mouth. So the things that we don't see or we can't see because of where we may be, you are seeing these things, you are hearing these things. And with technology today, with social media, and we know people are using social media. I mean, they use Facebook and Snapchat and all that stuff galore. So take your eyes, ears, and mouth and communicate what you have heard, seen, and know that's going on when it comes to criminal activity in your community. We'll vet it. We'll look into it. We won't identify you. We'll keep you safe. We'll keep you harm-free. But we need the community's involvement to solve crime in Beaufort County. Every community has to be involved in making their community a safer place. And that's not only in Beaufort County. That's throughout South Carolina. That's throughout every state in the union. So I know it's difficult for some because there's always that fear of retaliation. We understand that, and we don't. When we interview people and they don't want to get actively involved in an investigation because of fear of retaliation, not only on themselves or a family or their property, we understand that. But there are avenues that can get us around that. We just need to be talking to you, and we need to make sure that we're getting all the appropriate information, because you can give us information that may be connected to you, but we may find other ways to get that same information that's not connected to you, which takes you out of that zone, if you will. So, but you got to talk to us. You got to work with us. Don't work against us. You got to work with us. Go ahead, Tony.
Sheriff, can you talk a little bit about the action that you're taking against Willie's? Is it seeking revocation of a liquor license or of a business license?
There's two different issues.
Right.
The state issues alcohol license, so that would be the ability to serve beer, wine, and liquor.
Mm-hmm.
That is different than the county's business license.
Okay.
So
that's the action that you're taking as the county, right?
yeah. No, we've sent letters to the county and to the state.
Oh,
So, but the biggest thing here is, and you know, the owner of the property is in the room and known him for a long, long time. Used to be Island Grill, and he did a champion's job of trying to police Island Grill when it was that. But the fact is that those locations are hard to police. It's not really a controlled environment, and things get out of control quickly. And when you mix drug use, alcohol abuse, and all the other stuff, and then you get folks that get a little bit too much and get a little irritated, things go off the rails. And with the amount of guns that are carried by citizens today, that's a wrong, the wrong mixture. And then these things happen. So, we always look. I don't, and I know my office does not condemn people going out and having fun and doing things and having gatherings and enjoying themselves. We don't condemn that at all. We encourage it. We encourage communities to go out and enjoy, the opportunities to socialize with others. But if you're going to do that, leave your guns at home. That's no place for them. But you got, I mean, there's that information that we get from some of our younger men, some of our younger teenagers that are growing into manhood, that they'll tell you, if I don't take my gun, I'm outgunned. So I mean, there's just culture within our young men that feel like that they have got to arm themselves. They feel like they have to arm themselves to protect themselves, and we're going down the wrong road. And we've got to change that attitude. And changing the attitude, as far as what we can do, is we find you illegally involved or possessing something like a gun with a switch on it. Corrective action for us is we arrest you, we charge you, and then we depend on the courts in making a decision on how to rehabilitate your actions. That is tough. That's a struggle. All of that leading up to the consequences is something that we have no control of, that part of it. So, but we've got to change the attitude.
Actually, I'm considering the large amount of people that were out there. I was just wondering, did you guys receive any complaints from any neighbors about noise or the crowd growing or being disruptive at all?
No. I mean, the first call we got, and Alan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the first call we got about the incident or the location was when we started getting 911 calls about the shooting. Those were the first calls that came into our communications center. And we got several, but that's when we knew something was going on.
Shannon, last question for you. I know you mentioned the range of people there, and we've said that there's around 700 people at first, and now you're saying there's 300, and it was really an estimated guess of how many people are there. I'm not taking away the fact that 300 people are still a whole lot of people
Yeah.
that didn't say anything at first, but 700 to 300, I mean, that's a pretty big gap, so how did we miss that?
Well, I mean, that was information that was given to us when we started the investigation. I mean, of course, our initial push into the crime scene is there were a lot of people, and I think the estimate was overestimated, and there was no way, based on I mean, granted, when I got to the scene, it was about an hour after the incident itself. And there were very few people then there. I had the opportunity to speak to the owner of the business, but there was not a lot of people. But going back and interviewing witnesses and looking at different things that we are privy to, it's not a very big building, and the parking area is suitable for the size of the building, but there's also a lot of parking in the rear of it and some on the side. On the south side of the building. So I think a fair number is 350. But that's still a lot of people. in a kind of a very, very tight area. So, all right.
And just a clarification question, those September 24 machine gun charges, was that possession of the machine gun?
Yeah, that's the 24 independent individual charges, yeah. And I think 6 of those out of the 28 that we're at now, I think are still in jail. So the rest of them, again, possession of a fully automatic pistol out on bond, kind of concerning.
So there's really an underlying issue with the bonds, is what I'm hearing.
Look, I've been in this job a long time. There's always been an issue. When law enforcement officers make arrests and we make criminal charges and we're convinced on, that this person is responsible for it, law enforcement officers don't like to see people get out of jail. We put the work in to put them there, and all of a sudden, the old saying years ago was that, especially I started my patrol life with the sheriff's office. I patrolled Hilton Head, there was an old saying that you take them to jail and they will beat you back to the island. You drop them off and they'd be out on bond and be back at Hilton Head before you will. So, I mean, bond has always been conditional. But for law enforcement, conditional to them means we put you in jail, we want you to stay. But that's the nature of what we do. But I think bond has always been an issue, and I think bond will always be an issue because we're not always going to agree. But I mean, I think we can do a better job in bond amounts, and law enforcement should not be the dictation of what that amount should be, because I told you no one would get out of jail. So there has to be those considerations, and it has to be an appropriate consideration. Danger to the community, flight risk is two of the things they look at. But if somebody's got a fully automatic pistol, I don't know. Sounds like a dangerous item to have, and for whatever use it may be intended for. So thank y'all so much, and when we get more information as it relates to additional charges, arrest, and related to the 15 victims, we will probably send it out to you in a nixle unless there's something that we need to ask y'all to come back for. Thank y'all so much. Y'all have a great day.